Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to tackle a pretty massive clinical challenge, equipping healthcare professionals and pharmacovigilance teams with the exact statistical frameworks needed to distinguish a true adverse vaccine signal from, well, dangerous statistical noise. You know, when millions of doses are administered globally, the stakes are incredibly high. And as medicos, our ability to accurately read the data literally determines the safety of entire populations. Let's get right into it.
Here's our clinical roadmap for today. First, the 1 in a million challenge. 2, the statistical toolkit. 3, the dangerous PRR trap. 4, signal triangulation. 5, real-world workflows. And finally, a high-yield knowledge check.
Section 1, the 1 in a million challenge, identifying the rarest clinical events. This is basically our chief complaint for today's session.
The sheer mathematical difficulty of identifying extremely rare adverse events in a massive real-world population is staggering. It's the ultimate needle in a haystack problem. To capture a baseline adverse event rate of just 1 in a million, we actually need at least 200 passive reports just to cross the threshold of detection. So this isn't just a simple matter of counting. It demands highly sophisticated statistical eyes to spot an anomaly against a vast, overwhelming background of normal, expected medical events that happen every single day.
Let's ground this with a concrete clinical vignette. Imagine you're reviewing a national database. An alert flags 87 reports of febrile seizures in children under 2 years old, and that's out of 10,000 total adverse events following immunization reports for a new pentavalent vaccine. The national baseline expected rate here is 0.6 per 1,000 doses. I want you to ask yourself directly, based on those raw numbers alone, does this situation merit halting a vaccine rollout? Think about it. If you hit the pause button on an immunization program prematurely, you risk outbreaks of preventable diseases. But if you ignore a true signal, you obviously risk patient safety. So how do we definitively know if these 87 cases are a true safety signal or just an artifact of statistical noise?
Section 2, the Analyst Statistical Toolkit. Choosing the right diagnostic test. We need the right tools to solve this.
To answer that clinical puzzle confidently, we can't rely on intuition. We need to run what is essentially our statistical differential diagnosis. Think of this as your mental cheat sheet for core diagnostic tools. We have the observed versus expected ratio, or OSE, which pulls from an external baseline. PRR, the proportional reporting ratio, looks only inside your specific database. EBGM, the empirical Bayes geometric mean, well, that's a powerhouse for rare events. And SPRT is your go-to for real-time monitoring. The key takeaway? Every single one of these has specific sensitivities and unique bias vulnerabilities that a vigilant medico absolutely must understand.
Section 3, the dangerous PRR trap, the fatal flaws of an incomplete approach. Let's look at where things can go wrong.
Before we deploy these tools, we really have to discuss the morbidity and mortality risks of relying on a single metric, specifically the alluring but highly incomplete proportional reporting ratio. Using PRR in isolation is a massive trap. Why? 3 fatal flaws. First, it completely ignores the true population background rate. A high PRR might still actually be lower than what naturally occurs in the wild. Second, it's highly vulnerable to denominator inflation. If other vaccines in your database also cause the same event, the denominator swells, which effectively hides your signal. And third, mining thousands of event pairs creates dozens of false signals through alpha inflation. Guys, it's a screening tool, not a diagnostic one.
Section 4, gold standard, signal triangulation, cross-referencing multiple modalities.
To avoid misdiagnosing statistical noise as a true safety threat, we must strictly adhere to the evidence-based protocol, signal triangulation. You would never diagnose a complex systemic disease off a single lab value, right? Same exact logic applies here. Triangulation requires cross-referencing our modalities. We have to look at internal disproportionality metrics, like PRR and EBGM, which tell us if an event is disproportionate within our specific database. And then, we must validate that with external, real-world epidemiological context using O/E analysis and sequential testing. Only when internal mining aligns perfectly with external epidemiology do we have a confirmed signal. Within that triangulation framework, EB05 is your absolute high-yield concept. The empirical Bayes geometric mean calculates the posterior lambda distribution. I know that sounds heavy, but by looking at the lower 5th percentile, the EB05, and ensuring it sits at or above a threshold of 2.0, we're applying a conservative Bayesian adjustment. This is the FDA FAERS standard for a reason. It definitively filters out the small number noise that completely plagues lesser databases.
Let's actually plug our initial pentavalent case study into this to build a complete diagnostic picture. Remember our 87 febrile seizures? First, based on background rates, we only expected 1.55 cases. Second, our OE ratio comes in at a massive 56.1. Third, the PRR is 5.17, which easily meets Evans' criteria. And finally, the EB05 calculation is 3.9, well above that 2.0 threshold we just talked about. This signal cleanly passes through all 4 nodes, it is Bayesian confirmed, and frankly, requires immediate regulatory attention.
Section 5, Real-World Surveillance Workflows from Theory to Regulatory Action. Let's pull back and look at the big picture.
With the theoretical math securely established, how is this exact triangulation protocol operationalized by global regulatory bodies? Well, here is the 6-step workflow standardized by the WHO and regulatory groups like the CDSCO. Raw data collection is standardized using Brighton collaboration case definitions. Then it's systematically filtered through disproportionality metrics, validated against national O/E incidents, and finally put through strict WHO causality algorithms before any national regulatory decision, like a product recall or a label update, is ever triggered.
In clinical practice on a massive scale, this creates a rigorous, multi-level surveillance architecture. Take the escalation pyramid of the India AEFI system, for example. It starts at level 1, with the peripheral health worker completing the initial report. Then it escalates through district and state medical reviews, finally reaching level 4, the National AEFI Committee. That's where these advanced signal reviews and regulatory liaisons take place. It's a highly structured, uncompromised chain of clinical custody.
Section 6, High Yields Knowledge Check. Testing your diagnostic acumen. Let's see how we do.
Okay, time to lock in this vital understanding with a quick board-style scenario. Apply the triangulation principle here. A newly monitored meningococcal conjugate vaccine shows a proportional reporting ratio of 3.2 for anaphylaxis. Now, that firmly meets the Evans criteria for a preliminary signal. However, the analysts run the Bayesian adjustment and find an EB05 of 0.9. So if you detect a PRR that flags positive, but the EB05 falls well below the 2.0 threshold, what's your clinical conclusion? Do you confirm the signal or reject it?
Well, if you said reject it, you hit the nail on the head. The signal is not confirmed. It was merely an artifact of statistical noise. The crucial point here is that the EB05 absolutely overrides the PRR. This perfectly demonstrates why we triangulate in the first place. Keeping this golden rule of pharmacovigilance in mind, that no single metric can ever carry the full weight of vaccine safety, will you ever look at a solitary, isolated safety statistic in a medical journal the same way again? Thank you so much for engaging with this explainer, and always keep questioning the data.